Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. So welcome back to another day of Vlogust here on my channel. If you are not familiar with what that is, I am posting a video each and every day in the month of August 2020, so make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on any of them. Today's video is a fun one, and it's actually one that has been requested quite a few times in my comments. You guys have seen my cookbook collection in my kitchen. In fact, I had a bookcase installed on the end of my island specifically for organizing all of my cookbooks, and I often talk a lot about cookbooks on my channel as I'm cooking and planning meals and referencing them. And so one of the requests that people have is to know what are my must-have cookbooks. And so I've gone through my whole collection and I've chosen 8 cookbooks today that I think anyone would benefit from having them in their collection. Any of the cookbooks that I mention in this video will be linked down below if you'd like to purchase them. So let's get started. So I'm gonna take you back to 2001, and that was when I started my cookbook collection. And this is a reproduction of Betty Crocker's picture cookbook, and my grandma gave this to me when I turned 18, and in fact it still has my maiden name written in the front of it. So this was definitely the cookbook that started off my collection. Once I moved out on my own throughout college and my early married life, I was obsessed with collecting cookbooks. I was obsessed with cooking food out of cookbooks, and so I love that I get to share that here on YouTube with you guys, but it's something that I've enjoyed doing in my own life for a really long time. Okay, so I feel like I would be remiss if I did not include a Rachael Ray cookbook, and I actually pride myself in the fact that I have every single Rachael Ray cookbook that she has ever published, but the one that I'm recommending right now is Rachael Ray 50, and this is one that was recently published, and it actually includes recipes as well as essays and recipes in her handwriting, and to me it's more like a scrapbook of her time as a cook in the public eye. I actually started watching Rachael Ray when Food Network premiered the 30-Minute Meals show. That's when I was in college, and I've talked before about how I loved watching Food Network while I was in college. And back then it was like the OG Food Network. It was like Giada and Ina and Iron Chef and Rachael Ray, and now I feel like all the Food Network is just Guy Fieri and his like 18 different grocery shows. But anyway, I've been a fan of Rachael Ray for the longest time, and so I actually wanted to share also that I have the very first issue of Every Day with Rachael Ray. It's one of my prized possessions. Not really, but this issue is from November, December 2005. So at this point, it's almost 15 years old. Maybe I'll do like a throwback and cook some recipes out of this, but I have been a Rachael Ray fan for a long time, and so I've cooked many of her recipes, and most of them have turned out really well. So I would recommend this cookbook, especially if you are a Rachael Ray fan. It has great pictures. It has a lot of her classic recipes in it, and it is a big, thick cookbook, and I think that if you are a fan of hers, you'll enjoy it. Okay, next up is the Skinny Taste Fast and Slow cookbook, and I actually have 3 or 4 of Gina's cookbooks, of the Skinny Taste cookbooks. She also has a fantastic blog, so if you haven't checked her out, make sure that you check out her blog. She does a lot of lightened up recipes. She also includes the points for Weight Watchers if you're interested in that kind of thing. But this is my favorite cookbook of hers. I think it is the most comprehensive, and I also like that it has both quick fix and slow cooker recipes. One of her recipes that is my favorite is her slow cooker lasagna soup, and that is in this cookbook. You can see that I have it flagged with many different post-it notes here, but I have cooked many recipes out of this cookbook, and none of them, you can really tell, are healthier versions. And so if this is something that sounds like it would interest you, and if you like cooking crock-pot meals, I would definitely recommend this cookbook. Okay, next up is Pioneer Woman's cookbook, and she's another one that I started following before she was on Food Network, and before she had any cookbooks, and before she had a cooking show. I actually followed her blog from way back in the day, but I love her cookbooks. If you guys have ever tried her recipes, you know that a lot of them are fail proof. I actually have a video where I tried the top 10 Pioneer Woman recipes, so I'll link that down below if you're interested in watching it. But the reason I really like her cookbooks is that she has step-by-step instructions of all the recipes, and she has lots of pictures. So for someone that might be a more newbie cook or someone who needs a little bit more help following directions, I think these are really convenient. Even for someone like me, who I would say is a pretty experienced home cook, I love using these cookbooks because I can quickly find when I'm in the middle of cooking a recipe where I'm at in that particular recipe. She has a lot of, I guess you would say, varied recipes. She includes a lot of different cuisines, a lot of different meals as far as like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like I said, all of her recipes are fabulous. So this one is Pioneer Woman Cooks the New Frontier, which I believe is the newest one. But like I said, I have several of hers and I love all of them. Okay, next up is my favorite meal prep cookbook of all time, and this is Cook Once, Eat All Week by Cassie Joy Garcia. And I can't actually remember how I heard of this cookbook. It may have been on another YouTube video, but I ordered this and I love the concept of it. I have actually made several meal prep videos out of the recipes in this, and all of them have been fabulous. I'll link some of those videos down below. But basically the concept of this cookbook is that you are meal prepping, but you're using 3 core ingredients. So essentially you have a protein and a couple vegetables, and those are kind of like the building blocks for your 3 meal prep recipes for that week. And the reason why this is great is because not only does it save on food waste, but it's also a budget-friendly way to meal prep. You also can use like the same core ingredients, but then cook different meals so you're not eating the same thing for every meal in a week, which is something that I really like. The other great thing about this book is that she has tons of customization options in here. So all of the recipes are inherently gluten-free, but she also has options for like paleo, low carb, and I believe dairy-free if you are interested in that. There's a lot of great pictures in it. Like I said, everything I've tried has been fabulous. So I would definitely recommend this cookbook, especially if you're looking for a meal prep cookbook. I think that it's great. Otherwise, you can also just cook the recipes straight out of here, even if you're not interested in meal prepping. Okay, next up is actually a keto cookbook, and I'm not on a keto diet currently. I have been intermittently in the past. However, I do think this is a great cookbook if you are doing keto, or even if you're not doing keto. A lot of the recipes in here are great. I have several keto cookbooks, and so I feel like I can be a good judge of which one is my favorite since I've tried out several of them, and this one is definitely it. I think the recipes in here are super approachable. Like there's not a lot of weird ingredients. Every recipe has a picture. That's another thing that I really like to see in cookbooks, is that there's lots of pictures, and there's just a lot of variety, which I think is great. And I've tried probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 recipes out of this, and they have all been fabulous. The cookbook is called Simply Keto by Suzanne Ryan. I believe she also has a YouTube channel. Last I checked, she doesn't post on it much, but if you're looking for a low carb or keto cookbook, I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, so you guys know I'm always talking about America's Test Kitchen and their cookbooks on my channel, and I've recommended many of them, but this one has to be one of my favorites, and I've made several different videos featuring recipes out of this. This is the America's Test Kitchen Bowls Cookbook. Vibrant recipes with endless possibilities. So the reason why I like this cookbook is because there's just a lot of innovative ideas in here. I think especially when I'm doing meal prep, whether it's for lunch or dinner, sometimes I just have trouble coming up with like innovative ideas. You know, I feel like sometimes we eat the same things every week, and so there's just a ton of different cuisine options in here. There's hot meals, cold meals, salads, grain bowls, vegan recipes, soups, main dishes. So definitely a lot of variety in this cookbook. And the great thing about America's Test Kitchen is that you know that all of their recipes have been extensively tested to make sure that they turn out properly, and they do. And there's also a lot of great pictures in the cookbook. And then at the end, there are also tons of recipes for like quick pickles. There's a whole section of dressings and sauces. So I have been super happy with this cookbook. I've had it for a while now and would definitely recommend it. Okay, so next up is another cookbook from America's Test Kitchen. And I have several of these complete cookbooks. So there are several different ones. There's a complete vegetarian cookbook, which I'm sharing with you here. There's also a complete Mediterranean cookbook. There's a complete vegan cookbook. I have all of them and all of them are fabulous. But the reason why I'm sharing this one, even though I'm not a vegetarian, is because I think it just has a ton of great recipes in it. And even if you're not vegetarian and you want to customize some of these recipes by adding meat, you can totally do that. But they have a great recipe in here for pad thai. I have also made the vegetable spring rolls out of this. This is also the cookbook where I get my granola recipe. And so I definitely think that if you get this, you will not regret it. Like I said, even if you aren't a vegetarian, I just think there are a ton of great recipes in here that anyone can use, and all of them turn out fabulous. Okay, so the last cookbook I have to share with you before I have one honorable mention is the Cook's Illustrated Revolutionary Recipes. So if you've watched any of my videos, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this cookbook before. It is a huge cookbook. I would almost like to call it my cooking Bible. I really think this cookbook is kind of similar to like the Betty Crocker cookbook of our time. Like maybe we could call it the modern Betty Crocker cookbook, but there is just a ton of great like classic recipes in here. So this is honestly the first cookbook I go to if I'm looking for a basic recipe. So let's say I'm looking for like a basic biscuit recipe or a pie crust or a roast chicken or just anything like that. This cookbook is gonna have it, and it's going to be great. In fact, this is the biscuit recipe that I use most often, the Ultimate Flaky Biscuits. They're super delicious. Every recipe has a picture. Every recipe also has an extensive write-up, and then they also often recommend products, which I think is super helpful too. Like I said, I am a fan of Cook's Illustrated and America's Test Kitchen, and you can't go wrong with any of their cookbooks. But I think especially if you're looking to build your collection and have something that has a lot of classic recipes in it, I would definitely recommend this one. Okay, so last but not least is a cooking magazine. Now, I can tell you that I have subscribed to just about every single cooking magazine over the last almost 20 years. I've subscribed to Rachel Ray's magazine. I've subscribed to Pioneer Woman's magazine, which by the way is terrible, don't get it. I've been subscribed to like Cooking Light, Eating Well, Food and Wine, Bon Appetit. I mean, any of them, you name it. And the one I go back to time and time again is definitely Cook's Country. Now, this is also America's Test Kitchen, so it's the same people that make all the cookbooks that I love so much. But these magazines are great because I feel like they're like mini cookbooks in and of themselves. So this Cook's Country comes out 6 times a year, so about every other month you get one, and this is the most recent one. You can see that it's very colorful, and on the back is all of the pictures of the recipes that are in this episode. The other great thing about this magazine is that there are no ads in it, so you can get a subscription to this. I just looked at one of the cards inside for 25 bucks a year, which I think is actually not bad. So I'll leave their website down below if you're interested in getting a subscription. But time and time again, this is the magazine that I come back to, and this is the one that I rip the most pages out of and keep them. Another question I get a lot is, how do I store all of my recipes? So I think that's probably a video I'll make later this month, so stay tuned for that. I typically do not keep my cooking magazines unless there are multiple recipes in them that I use. Usually what I'll do is I'll just tear the ones out that I want to try, and once I try them and verify that it's a legitimate recipe, I put it into my binder so that I can reference it later. Okay, so those are my must-have cookbooks. Let me know if you guys have any of these cookbooks and if you like them. Also, if you have a favorite cookbook and I didn't mention it, also leave that in the comments below. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
My favorite thing in the world is you smiling.
Okay, so all right. Yep.